MoneyMax Monday video. Last week we looked at ways in which we could boost our income, but today and in the videos in the weeks to come, we're going to be looking at ways in which we can reduce our expenditure without it negatively affecting our lifestyle. How to spend less without enjoying less. So a few weeks ago we looked at how to build a budget, which was your income and your expenditure. And in doing so, we would have input into that a lot of different ways in which we can spend money. And if you're anything like me, there would have been a lot of them. So in the MoneyMax Budget Planner, which is available at MoneyMaxUK.org/downloads, if you input your expenditure as a monthly figure, the budget planner will calculate what that means in terms of how much you spend per day, per week, and per year based on that monthly figure. And from that, we can see a bigger picture of what each individual item costs. Now, if we look at the amount that we spend on any one particular item over the course of a year, it gives us quite a frank appraisal of the sheer amount of money we are spending on a particular thing. So if you're the type of person who likes to spend £5 a week on coffee, over a year that's £260. Now you might look at that figure and think, that's a perfectly reasonable amount of money to spend on coffee, I enjoyed it. And equally, you might think that's a very large amount of money to spend on coffee. And both of those reactions are fine. But what we have from this process is the knowledge to go forward. But for many people, the top 5 ways in which you spend money will be housing, food and groceries, transport, power, and communication. And over the coming weeks, we're going to look at how we can minimize the spending on this without that negatively affecting our lifestyle. And we're going to start today by looking at housing. Now, just so that we're clear, most of what I'm going to say will be talking about mortgages. That's not to say that there aren't ways you could save money when you're renting, but the amount that you pay in rent is usually a fixed amount that your landlord sets. And other than haggling with your landlord, it's not an amount that you have much control over. But with mortgages, you do have some say. There is some wiggle room in how much you pay back to your mortgage provider each month. So we're going to be focusing primarily on mortgages for this video. So, when I look at my budget planner, by far the biggest amount that I'm paying per year is on mortgage. Just for the sake of round figures, if I spend £600 a month on mortgage, that's £7,200 a year, which is a lot of money for the roof over my head. And I'm very grateful for the roof over my head, but many people, when they're looking to save money, will look at their food bill or their phone bill or not leaving the television on standby. And all of those are good things. But the one biggest outlay that we have per year is often mortgage. And as such, there are things that we can do in order to tinker with the amount of mortgage that we are paying. Now, the first steps to saving money on our mortgage is to find all the details that concern your mortgage. This might be in paperwork that's filed away, it could be on your online banking system, it could be ringing the bank or building society to find out those details. But we need to find out a few things. Number one, how long do you have left to pay the mortgage for? Is it 5 years, 20 years, 30 years? How long have you got left on that? Secondly, how much equity is there in the property? Now, this means if you were to sell the property and then use some of that money to repay the mortgage, how much money would you have left at the end of that? That's the equity that's in the property. Thirdly, how long have any introductory deals that you started got left before they run out? And thirdly, how much is left to repay? Now, talking in abstract terms about mortgages without anything concrete might be a little bit difficult. So we could use an example. This is Homer. Now, Homer, let's say Homer 2 years ago bought a £200,000 house with a deposit of £25,000 and a mortgage, therefore, of £175,000 to be repaid over 30 years. And he's been paying £600 a month for the last 2 years. So Homer's mortgage payments have cost him £7,200 a year. Now, it's been 2 years since Homer took out his mortgage, and that initial deal of 2 years that fixed his payments at £600 a month has ended. And he's just gotten a letter saying that his mortgage payments are going to jump to £750 a month. And he still owes just over £165,000 on the house, but Homer's mortgage payments will now increase to £9,000 a year, which is a significant increase and is going to play havoc with his budgeting. Where's he going to get that extra money from? What is he going to do? Well, he has several options. Well, his first option is to just do nothing. If he can continue to make the payments, then he'll continue to own the house, and after a certain amount of time, he will own that house outright and not have to make any more payments. But at MoneyMax, we think that that's not a very good option. That's not the way to maximize your cash. What Homer could do instead is go to his current mortgage provider and ask to see if they've got a cheaper deal they can offer him. This can be a very simple, straightforward process that can be done over the phone or even online in some instances, because certain banks and building societies will offer existing customers attractive deals to make them stay with that current bank or building society. And it usually has a lock-in date of between 1 and 5 years, not always though, and it never hurts to ask. Or he could shop around and see if he could remortgage his house. Remortgaging is basically opening up the property market, the housing market, to see what is the best deals out there. But for remortgaging, it's for people who don't want to leave their current house. So people who want to stay where they are but get the best deal for their house. So he could shop around and go to every single bank and every single building society in town and ask what their best mortgage deals are, explain his situation and see what he can get from there. He could go to a mortgage broker and see what they can get. But he could also go to a mortgage comparison site, a mortgage deal comparison website online. And there are a number of those, but the one that we'll be using in today's example is MoneySavingExpert's Mortgage Best Buys tool. There's a link in the description below, which compares much of the market for you. I should say not every deal will be on any one website, but many deals will be on most of these websites. Now, using these fictional numbers that we've made up for this fictitious character, I put them into one of these mortgage comparison websites to see what deal Homer could get. Now, Homer is of course fictional, but the deals that it generates using those numbers are real deals. So, Homer could remortgage his home with HSBC for £583 a month for an introductory rate of 2 years. But that would come with an upfront setup fee of £779, so he'd need to factor that in. But this would make his mortgage payments significantly lower. So he would, over a year, he would be paying £6,996, more than £2,000 less than he would pay if he'd done nothing about it. Alternatively, he could remortgage his home with Santander for £619 a month, but with setup fees of only £35. Now this would make his mortgage payments £7,428 a year, which is more than £1,500 less than if he'd done nothing. Alternatively, if he wanted to, Homer could increase the time over which he was going to pay his mortgage. So as we mentioned, he took a 30-year mortgage 2 years ago, so he's got 28 years left. But if he were to extend that by 5 years and borrow over the 33 years to come, he could get his monthly figure down to £513 a month with the Yorkshire Building Society. But the total amount that he would repay on this mortgage over the lifetime of the mortgage would be more than £56,000 more than if he'd done one of these other deals that we've mentioned. So we would really need to weigh up, is the short-term gain of getting his monthly payments down worth the long-term debt that this would increase, having tens of thousands of pounds more debt over the lifetime? And that's really something that he would have to weigh up for himself. Now, of course, Homer is fictional, as is his mortgage conundrum, but the deals that we've been referring to are real. I actually put in his details into a mortgage comparison site for today's video, and they go to show how much cash could be saved by asking who is providing your mortgage. Are you emotionally attached to your mortgage provider or bank? If not, you might want to look at this. One final way that Homer could save on his mortgage payments is if he wanted to split them with someone else. If he were to get a roommate who would agree to pay half of the living cost of the house, then he would save a couple of £100 a month, and he would be very happy about this, presumably. But that does come with the social cost of having to share your living space with another person. So you'd need to weigh up whether or not that social cost was worth the savings that you'd make. So there we have it. Given that buying a house is the biggest purchase most of us make in our lifetime, it can be very profitable to look at where we can save money on our mortgage payments to just make sure that we're getting the best deal and that we're maximizing our cash. That's it for this week. Let me know in the comments below if you've had any money maxing success related to mortgages, or indeed if you've got any other comments or questions or requests for videos you'd like to see, stick them in the comments as well. Thank you very much for watching. Next Monday we're going to be thinking about how to prepare for a very special time of year. So I'll see you next Monday.